My name is Joseph Robertson, and the purpose of this exciting video is an opportunity for me to share the results from my action step, which were conducted for my doctoral program at Northeastern University. The purpose of this action step was to increase student engagement and deeper learning in a large public middle school. And this was done by implementing problem-based learning throughout a semester-long leadership course and allowing students to choose a problem that interested them from a pool of problems. And that pool of problems was created by establishing community partners who contributed authentic problems that they actually had from their organization. And then students would pick a problem that they're interested in. They would form teams based on those problems. Then they would brainstorm, come up with solutions. They would meet with the community partner to ask clarifying questions, pitch initial ideas, get feedback, and then eventually they presented their solutions to the community partner. So the action step took place in the fall of 2022, and some background. The cycle one took place in spring of 2021, and it was a 3-week unit with 4 different teachers who taught 6th grade classes, and it was the same idea, using problem-based learning, giving students choice to choose problems, and having community partners. But it was just a 3-week unit that was kind of done as a trial run and to see how it went and see what we learned from that. There's 2 research questions from cycle 1. What is needed to successfully implement problem-based learning? What are teachers' experiences with improving engagement by implementing problem-based learning? So as I said, the purpose of cycle 1 was to learn, because it was new for all of us that were participating in it. And some themes that we came away from the first research question were that it's important to have admin on board, as well as teachers and community partners. It's key to have those authentic problems that come from the community partners. We provided a problem-solving structure, a process to students so that it was scaffolded and they just weren't left to try to figure things out on their own. They had a process to follow. It's important to have the classroom environment be a place where there's students feel safe and there's positive community. They feel safe to take risks. And one thing that came out was that since this was kind of a one-off unit, 3-week unit, participants said that they really wanted to see problem-based learning integrated throughout a whole course. For the second research question, the themes that were produced is from the teachers' experiences included increased amplified level of student synergy. The teachers appreciated being able to collaborate with colleagues. They observed an increased quality of student learning, and there was meaningful connections that were made between the students and the community partners that really provided a rich, relevant aspect to the cycle 1. So the overall findings for cycle 1, participants wanted more time. 3 weeks wasn't long enough, and they also wanted it to be integrated within a course rather than just a one-off unit. This cycle 1 was done with 6th graders, and people commented about how 6th graders tend to be excited about anything. So a more challenging audience would be to try this out with 8th graders and to just incorporate the other things that we learned from cycle 1 into cycle 2. So the action step goals and objectives for cycle 2, the purpose was to increase student engagement and deeper learning in a large public middle school. The goal was to implement problem-based learning and student choice throughout an entire semester, in this case in a leadership course, and this is with 7th and 8th graders, mixed class. Students would experience improved motivation, increased engagement, and more meaningful learning. The teacher and community partners would experience meaningful connections with students, presentation of solutions, and they would be able to observe deeper learning. And the research question for Cycle 2 is, how can problem-based learning and student choice be effectively used to foster students' deeper learning in a middle school leadership course as perceived by the teacher, students, and community partners? So going through this quickly, I met to plan with the teacher in the summer of 2022. At the same time, I was establishing community partners and collecting problems. Ended up establishing 8 community partners and collecting about 30 problems for the pool. At the beginning of the school year, the teacher facilitated some soft skill lessons, and we introduced problem-based learning to the students. And then throughout that first semester, there were 3 rounds of problem solving. In hindsight, probably would have been better just to do 2, just timing wise, but we did 3. And then also throughout that time, there were interviews that were conducted, interviews with the teacher, beginning, middle, and end, interviews with the community partners, beginning and end, and 3 focus groups with students, beginning, middle, and end. And after each round, students presented their solutions to the community partners. So through all the interviews and classroom observations and student work that was collected, and a teacher journal as well, a lot of data was collected, a total of 16 interviews and at least 10 classroom observations. So there was quality, quantity, and triangulation for the data. The data was analyzed continuously throughout the process in 2 different phases. First, with initial coding using in vivo descriptive and pattern coding, and then a second phase of coding using axial coding to remove redundant codes and created a code book. So went from originally 653 codes and synthesized that down to 26 codes for the code book. Looking at patterns and themes led to results that were grounded in the data. And the success of this was there was access to several information sources. The challenges was that 3 of the 8 community partners, their participation could have been better. And so really we ended up working with just mainly 5 of the community partners. So now we get to the results of Cycle 2, and there were 4 themes. Student choice increased student engagement and motivation. Engagement in solving authentic problems of choice increased deeper learning. Community partners increased relevance. The design of the inquiry project supported the learning process and overall improvement. So what we called this during the semester, we call it the inquiry project. So that's where that name comes from. From the themes came out 3 findings for Cycle 2. Creating an opportunity for students to solve real-world problems of interest increases their engagement in collaborative problem solving and critical thinking. I would say this is not a new finding. This is well supported within the extant literature. Authentic problem-based learning with student choice and community partners can greatly facilitate deeper learning. This one is actually a new and exciting finding in the sense that each of these components, problem-based learning, student choice, community partners, each of those have been researched before, but combining the 3 together is something relatively new that isn't in the literature. And this combining the 3 together, I ended up naming PBL Plus, is the name I used to reference that. And then the last finding, attention to the design, supports, and scaffolding of activities greatly contributes to program success. Once again, that's not really a new finding. It's supported in literature that if you want something to be successful, it needs to be designed and supported well. So implications included a better understanding and some evidence now for utilizing PBL and student choice along with community partners. There was participants expressed a desire to continue using problem-based learning and student choice with community partners at the school where the research was done. Also, I would like to get it going at the school that I work at as well, because I work at a different school. Students experienced enjoyment in their learning. They found it meaningful and engaging. And then also part of all this, I developed a plan for implementing PBL Plus for those who would like to try it at their school. And that will be on the next slide. So 8 steps to implementing PBL Plus. First, you need to have established a community partnerships coordinator. It's too much, it's a lot of work, and it's not right to ask a teacher to take that on unless they're going to be compensated. So probably going to be an administrator, maybe an assistant principal who's going to do that, or like I said, if a teacher's given maybe 0.2 FTE or a stipend to establish the community partners. So that's the next step, is to recruit teachers who are interested and recruit community partners. And then those teachers and community partners need to be trained, and also a pool of problems needs to be collected. Then you begin implementing the rounds, and I think that 1 round per quarter is probably a good pace, so 2 rounds per semester. At the end of each round, students present their solutions. They get feedback, which they can incorporate into the next round. Students can continue with the same problem if they feel like it hasn't been solved yet, or if there's enough depth there to keep going and they're still interested in it, or if they feel like it's solved or they're just not interested anymore, they can pick a new problem. It's important after each round for students to reflect, take the feedback, incorporate that into the next time, and then repeat. Repeat this over. You can bring on a second person as a community partnership coordinator, just so that there's more than one person who has those connections with the community. You can always add more teachers and more community partners, and continue adding more problems to the pool. So thank you for listening to my presentation. On the next slide are the references.